As people are starting to enter, just want to say that we'll start at the top of the hour here in the next minute. Um, so welcome and yeah. Gotcha. Correction. We'll start in a few minutes. We'll let some folks start to come in and get settled before we begin. So we will begin on my mark in a few minutes. Just a reminder for those of us who have started to join, we had a few additional folks who started to join us. We'll get started here in a few more minutes. So thank you for hopping on today and joining us for the AAPOR webinar. Alrighty, I think I got the green light. I'll go ahead and start. Just want to make sure everyone can see my screen. We're recording, everything's good. So again, welcome everyone to today's webinar, AAPOR webinar. The what, the who, and the how of AAPOR, and how to make the most of your membership. Just before we get into it, I do want to start with some housekeeping items. And I want to let everyone know that AAPOR does offer institutional webinar subscriptions and sponsorship opportunities to organizations who would like to support AAPOR's online education program. If interested, please contact my colleague, Layla Johnson, for further details at ljohnson@aapor.org. I'll drop that in the chat at some point on this call. So, right. I want to also remind everyone to please save your questions until the Q&A at the end of this webinar. We will have a Q&A. So if you have questions, save them until then, and we will answer them promptly. All right, next slide. So I want to start today by introducing the folks who will be presenting our webinar today. And of course, there's me, but I have two wonderful guests with me. One, Bianca DiGiulio, who is a senior manager of survey research programs at Kaiser Permanente, Washington Health Research Center Institute, overseeing survey data collection activities for the Institute, scientists and outside clients. Bianca is also the current AAPOR membership and chapter relations committee chair, and has been an AAPOR member for nearly 15 years. That's awesome. Next up to introduce is Kristen Dewan. Kristen Dewan is a survey methodologist at ICF, where she conducts quantitative and qualitative research for a variety of clients. She is also the current chair of the Membership Engagement Subcommittee, which is a part of the Membership Chapter Relations Committee. And she has been a AAPOR member since 2016. Wonderful. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this if you attended last year. For those who are new, this is our beautiful timeline of AAPOR history. And I could go on about AAPOR's rich history, dating back to 1946 and its first AAPOR annual conference. As you can see from this beautiful brief history timeline, we have many milestones and places to be proud of our progress and achievements here at AAPOR. And again, I could totally go into detail about our rich history, but here is a brief overview of it and a QR code if you want to dig deeper. But again, AAPOR's rich history, membership, and all of the details that go into that, from the first conferences to first presidents, et cetera, et cetera. So I do encourage you to look at it. It's very interesting. So AAPOR wouldn't be much without our wonderful members. And I can speak completely honestly about that. I do want to cover that AAPOR's membership is probably one of the more engaging memberships that I've encountered in my time working in membership. It's AAPOR is such a great organization because of you, the members. AAPOR's members take an active role in helping cultivate the culture and the perks of being a part of this association. Perks like AAPOR.net listserv, where members share ideas, issues, and other hot topics from all across the industry. In my time here, again, as I said at the top, my time here as a membership manager, I've been honored to talk to a lot of the AAPOR members. I would say most of the AAPOR members. And again, I can only say that the amount of dedication, detail that you all put into this work is bar none. So kudos to you all. Here we just have our members that span a range of interests, including election polling, market research statistics, research methodology, health-related data collection, and education. Here you can see sort of the breakdown of our membership as it stands in our 4 major categories. Jumping ahead here. Like any great organization, AAPOR's vision, is led by a host of elected and volunteer committee members. Committee structure is headed by the Executive Council Committee. And I'll show you sort of the structure of that in the next slide. Um, AAPOR has numerous committees that assist with activities throughout the year, committees that are formed under the Executive Council. Each committee has a chair and an associate chair. Within each committee, there are subcommittees that do specific tasks that do specific tasks. Each subcommittee also has a chair, as you can see. And I'm just going to list a few of our standing committees. We have 7: communications, conference, inclusion and equity, education, finance, my favorite, membership and chapter relations, and standards. And then you can see also some of the ad hoc and task force committees. These committees are special committees that form around special topics. I believe we may talk about them a little bit more in detail in future slides. So. And now, my favorite part, where I get to introduce the staff, our wonderful staff here at AAPOR, that goes a long way with helping advance the mission and vision of AAPOR leadership. I'll start first with the Executive Director, Trisan Stout. Then there's I'll go with the Marketing and Communications Director, Jackie Wiseman. Then I will go into the Education Manager, Ryan Green, our Program Manager, Layla Johnson, who was on this call. Thank you so much, Layla, for everything. And then there's me, the Membership Manager, Leon Spinner. I believe I am turning it over now.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. I'm turning it over to Bianca DeGiulio. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leon. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be with you. So I'm going to go through some of the benefits of membership. By being a member of AAPOR, you are a member of the leading public opinion and survey research organization. Membership makes you a part of an interdisciplinary group of public opinion and methodologically oriented researchers that span a broad range of organizations and institutions. Membership provides an opportunity to connect with individuals who use a wide range of methods to understand basic and applied questions about what people and organizations think, feel, and do. And finally, it provides a place to learn about the latest innovations and developments in collecting and analyzing data. Opportunities to learn come through the annual conference, through webinars, through short courses and task force reports that dive into timely topics. Next slide. One of the great benefits of AAPOR is the webinars. They span a variety of topics, and there are about 10 a year, so almost one a month. Some recent past webinars include better practices of data visualization and communicating survey data, and another one was differential privacy, a promising privacy concept for sample surveys. These both occurred late last year. And then coming up this year, we have cognitive interviewing, back to the basics and back to the future. That's going to be later this month, so mark your calendars for January 23rd. And then in February, we'll have collecting survey data with disconnected households in low-income countries. Live webinars are free to members, and they can access the 3 most recent recordings for free. AAPOR also has an institutional subscription to our recorded webinars that permits the subscriber to share access to webinar recordings with an institution. So this might be a good option for you if you have a number of colleagues that would like access to these webinars. Next slide. AAPOR has 3 journals, 2 peer-reviewed journals, which are Public Opinion Quarterly and the Journal of Survey Statistics and Methodology, and 1 editor-reviewed journal, which is Survey Practice. Access to these journals is free to members, and they're great resources to stay up to date on the latest research. Next slide. AAPOR also has a listserv that we call AAPORnet. This is a place for members to ask questions and get advice on those questions. People share job opportunities here. They share resources, and it's a great place to just hear about kind of the latest discussions that are happening within the field. People also post calls for abstracts for the AAPOR conference, but also other conferences that might be similar. Next slide. AAPOR has 9 different affinity groups. Affinity groups are groups that connect people with similar affinities or interests so they can share ideas, information, and experiences with others with similar interests. These groups cover a broad spectrum of different interests and affiliations, as you can see here with this slide. There's a lot of different groups covering a lot of different aspects. Next slide. Then we also have a number of awards. The ones that are highlighted here are kind of specific to students. There's travel awards, poster awards, student paper competition awards, diversity pipeline awards, and a graduate conference experience. In addition, there's an early career-oriented award called the Burns Bud Roper Fellow Award. I encourage you, if you think you might be eligible for these, to investigate them and apply for them. If you don't think you're specifically eligible, I definitely encourage you to share with your networks. We want people to be aware of these awards and these opportunities. So please do help us get the word out that there are awards and financial assistance that can be available to help people get to conference or to support their work. Next slide. And then the annual conference. So this is one of the main ways that we stay connected as a membership. This year will be the 80th annual conference. It is in May 14th through 16th in St. Louis. It will be at the Union Station Hotel, which I hear is supposed to be a pretty cool spot. The theme this year is around public opinion and AI, but the conference will also cover timely topics like the election. And it also will include other tracks such as multicultural research, field operations, data science, questionnaire design, sampling, and more. So please check it out. Members get a discount on registration. Next slide. I think I'm going to pass it over to Kristen. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bianca. Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, and I'm going to discuss some of the ways to get involved with AAPOR. So next slide. There are several ways to get involved in AAPOR, including volunteering on a committee. So to join a committee, you'll first need to submit an application through the AAPOR website, and you can access this application by scanning the QR code here on the screen. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page and select submit an application, the form should pop up, and some of the information you'll need to include is your name, email, some background about yourself, including where do you work or where do you attend school, and why you're interested in volunteering for AAPOR. You'll also be asked to select the committees that you're interested in joining, and it includes all the committees that Leon just went over, like communications, conference, inclusion and equity, etc. And if you select multiple committees, you'll be asked if you have a preference for which one you'd like to join. And then there's several basic demographic questions, and then work or research related questions. And then committees will review applications for diversity, experience, and need. And nominations are approved by the Executive Council for a 2-year term. And nominations are typically reviewed in August and January. Next slide. So you may be asking what is involved or what is the time commitment when joining a committee? And the short answer is it really depends on the committee. Some meet more or less frequently and some work throughout the year, while others have more responsibilities at different points throughout the year, such as closer to or during the annual conference. So if you have any specific questions, you could definitely reach out to AAPOR staff. But to give you a sense of what is involved for a member of a committee, I'm going to go over some of the goals and responsibilities of the Membership Engagement Subcommittee, which Leon mentioned I'm the chair of. Next slide. So the Membership Engagement Subcommittee is an expansion of the former AAPOR Welcoming Committee, and our goals are to, 1, engage with members throughout the year, and 2, to host welcome events at the annual conference, like a happy hour and a lunch, which we've done over the last several years. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see some of the virtual events that we've hosted over the years that happen throughout the year, separate from the annual conference. So in October 2022, we hosted How to Write an Abstract for the AAPOR conference. Then in March 2023, we had 4 presenters from different industries that discussed how to structure your resume or CV. And then last year, we organized a webinar about designing posters for conferences, in which we had 2 presenters who've presented various posters at many conferences, share their insights and expertise. So tasks on our subcommittee are year-round, but there is some more work or effort leading up to and during the conference. Next slide. So we currently have 8 members of the Membership Engagement Subcommittee. So as mentioned, I'm the current chair, and my associate chair is Mandy Lancaster. And then we have several other committee members that are listed here. And most of these members are newer members who have joined in the within the last 2 years, which has been really great for us. And our meeting cadence sort of fluctuates throughout the year, but we've mostly been meeting bi-weekly for most of the year. But then in the slower summer months, we may go monthly and then potentially weekly, the few weeks leading up to the conference. Next slide. In addition to joining a committee, you can also get involved with the AAPOR regional chapters. There are 7 regional chapters listed here. And each of these regional chapters provide networking and educational opportunities on a regional level, and a few have their own regional conferences. So you can find more information about the regional chapters and how to join by scanning the QR code. Next slide. Then finally, there are some more temporary or lower commitment volunteer opportunities, such as serving as a conference abstract reviewer or volunteering at the annual conference. So being an abstract reviewer is a very easy way to get involved. The abstract submission period is usually September to early to mid-November. And during the abstract submission period, there's a call for abstract reviewers once the submissions are completed. So once the submissions have closed, those who did volunteer will receive about 5 to 10 abstracts to review. And this is typically done in the same system where you submit abstracts. So reviewing is a really easy process. It only takes a couple of hours, and then all the scoring is done within that system. Another easy way to get involved is volunteering at the annual conference. So there are several small and larger volunteer opportunities at the conference. Moderating a session is a great way to get involved, and the sign up is usually in March, and that can fill up quickly. So definitely look out for that when it comes out in March. And then you can also volunteer for the ambassador program, which is hosted by the Membership Engagement Subcommittee. And this is where we pair up a veteran or multiple year AAPOR conference attendee with a student or a first-time attendee. And it's like having a buddy system at the conference. And so though it's not a formal mentorship, it is more a way to ensure that students and first-time attendees are comfortable at the conference by having someone that they can connect with or ask questions. So the sign up happens directly during the conference registration. So look out for that when you register for the annual conference. And then once you sign up, ambassadors are assigned students and first-time attendees a couple weeks before the conference. And then we request that the ambassador reach out to the student or first-time attendee to introduce themselves, provide their background, LinkedIn profile, etc. So they can really get to know each other a bit before going to the annual conference. And then we host an ambassador event or an ambassador mixer. And this is usually on the first full day of the conference, which this year will be Wednesday, May 15th. And then finally, a super easy way for students to get involved at the annual conference is to serve as an attendance counter. So head counting is done at the conference, so we can keep track of how many people are attending each session. So you would sort of just head count a number of sessions and report back to AAPOR. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Leon for Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you, Bianca and Kristen, for the wonderful information regarding everything your AAPOR membership. So I do not see any questions, but Layla, please help me with figuring out if there are questions anywhere where I'm not seeing on my screen here. I don't see anything in the chat, so I don't know if that means there are no questions. But we can open the floor for questions. And you can feel free to pop them in the chat, like I just said, or well, here we go. I do see a notification there. Yep, Q&A. We do have a Q&A here. All right. So we do have one question, and that is, when do applications for committees happen? Are they rolling? That's a great question. I'll take a first stab at it, and Bianca, please feel free to come in and correct me. We do have, so the answer is yes, we do have applications for committee involvement, for committee volunteer. Now they happen, I believe, at the top of the year, right, Bianca? I could be off.
Well, yeah, I guess I would say, you know, they are rolling in a sense, but there are a couple times of year where there are more likely to be volunteer positions looking to be filled. And those times are January and August. So people are welcome to go on to the volunteer page and fill out the form anytime, really, and express interest in a committee or you know, a couple committees, you know, if you're open to it. So you're welcome to do it anytime. The other thing that might, you know, that will be happening are there will sometimes be calls put out for specific positions, volunteer positions, when committees have openings. So that would happen kind of around now before our January council meeting when we'll be reviewing new volunteers, and then also in July when we'll be reviewing new volunteers. So there might be calls on AAPOR.net that say, hey, you know, the Inclusion and Equity Committee is looking for a volunteer for this subcommittee, that kind of thing. So keep an eye out for those kinds of calls. And if there's one that's particularly interesting to you, you can respond to that. But you're also welcome to put your name in the hat kind of anytime. There just might be a little bit of a delay in terms of a volunteer opening, I guess is all I would say.
That's great. And I do want to thank Bianca. I do want to thank you here for going a long way in helping get that structure together. It's something relatively new to the application process anyway for volunteering. And so you've been a great help to you and Jerry and other volunteers. I can name them off, but I've been great with, so thank you so much. We did just get another question as well. I'm gonna read it. You mentioned committee meeting at which applications will be reviewed. Can you let us in, or can you tell us when the meeting is so that we can have a date for the plan? I feel like you answered that, but
yeah, the meeting. So the meeting we're referring to is the Executive Council meeting, and this month it will be. I think it's later in the week of MLK Day, I believe. But I would say if you're interested, you know, the sooner the better in terms of filling out the form, because council chairs if they have positions that they're looking to fill, they'll be looking to do that, you know, and they'll probably next week, because then we have to turn in that information to the AAPOR staff so that we have it all ready for the meeting. So if you're interested, definitely, you know, complete that form sooner than later, and maybe there'll be a position for this round. Otherwise, your name will stay in the database, and then potentially there'll be a volunteer position in July or August. That might.
Such a great answer, because I was going to say that last part, especially. We do keep, once you complete the application, we do keep those on file. So you could be called or asked to volunteer at some point. It may not exactly happen, you know, right when.
Yeah.
So it's a great point. Any other questions? Oh, we got another one. What kind of networking events are there aside from the large conference? Any local chapter happy hours, etc., or does it depend on the chapter? This one I can also answer, but I will also take suggestions and help from Bianca and Kristen as well here. I do know that I'll answer first with the local chapters. I know that each local chapters, they have heavy engagement. So many folks, I'm thinking about Mayport and DCAPOR and PAYPOR. Each of the chapters have their own sort of thing that they do, and they're very heavily involved with events and local stuff. I know that DCAPOR had an event recently. I was invited to it. I wasn't able to attend. I believe it was like a mixer. And so these things happen often with the chapters for sure. With AAPOR, the large AAPOR, I know that the conference is the biggest thing for sure. But is there anything I'm missing? I'm thinking off the top of my head, Bianca, Kristen, anything? This webinar.
Yeah, I don't think so. You know, some of the chapters that have broader geographical distribution, like I'm thinking about PAYPOR, which is my kind of home chapter, the Pacific one. You know, we're spread from, you know, Seattle to Colorado to LA to San Francisco and beyond, of course. But over the last several years, they have started to do more really hyper local, you know, kind of happy hours and things. So I think it would just depend kind of where you are, if those are open, you know, if the chapter that you're near is having those kinds of things. Yeah, I think Leon, you probably covered most of it.
Yeah, I know that for AAPOR, and this will be my third AAPOR, Missouri will be, so I'm really excited about that, because I know like everything to expect at this point, I feel like. But there are a lot of opportunities there at conference for networking. It's a really, I don't know if this question, the person who asked the question has been to any AAPORs, but yes, there's a lot of opportunities there on the ground once you're at the large conference. Any other questions, or if I didn't answer, or we didn't answer any questions, feel free to ask for some follow-up. Oh, there are some questions here in the chat. Let's see, okay, so sorry. Okay, the first question here is, are there any fees for the webinars you offer to members? And I think that was mentioned in the slides, but Bianca, Kristen, are there any fees for members for webinars?
Webinars are free for members.
Yeah, completely free. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I think
okay,
Layla.
yeah, got it. So sorry about that.
Okay.
Let me go back to the Q&A box. All right, we do have another question. Does AAPOR have a presence on LinkedIn? It might be a useful way to connect with members who cannot / do not attend the national or local conferences? This is a great question as well. We do have a presence on LinkedIn. My colleague, who I mentioned, who is the director of marketing and communications, Jackie Wiseman, she oversees all of that, to my knowledge. And yeah, I think our LinkedIn presence is pretty solid. I mean, I follow AAPOR on LinkedIn. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how many followers or people we have in our cohort, but yeah, definitely search for us on LinkedIn.
The other thing I guess I would say, AAPOR Net is I wouldn't say it's networking per se, but it's sort of a place where members, can come together, can, ask questions, sort of get feedback from other members, discuss a certain topic. So I would just sort of add that to the conversation. It's not, it's not an in-person, it's more of a, it's an email communication, but it's a way that members can connect with each other throughout the year.
Great. Great. Any other questions? I'm not gonna like count off here, so no worries. We're ahead of time, so I don't know how this works. Oh, we got another one. Perfect. So I've been calling this organization AAPOR, but the correct pronunciation is AAPOR. Thanks for correcting me. Now, Bianca, Kristen here, am I pronouncing that
Great question.
correct? Yeah, are we all pronouncing that correct? AAPOR, or should we be saying AAPOR or AAPO? Or I don't know. So
Yeah, I think it is lovingly called AAPOR.
yeah.
Yeah, and we have Maypor and Paypor and all of the various SAPOR, various chapters, calling it similarly with their chapter affiliation. So yeah, AAPOR is the way we affectionately refer to it. It's a great question though.
Such a great question, because I was sitting here
Comment.
thinking about it. Yeah, because when I first started working here, I struggled with that. I was trying to call it, I kept calling it AAPOR, and I'm like, and everyone was like APOR, and I'm like, I'm not gonna ever get used to saying that. And now I'm used to saying it. So yeah. Um, anything coming in along the comments? I don't think so. So again, I don't want to forward or rush things too much, but I do want to be cognizant of everyone's time. So with that being said, I do want to start to put the wrap on this if we can. And so with that being said, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this webinar today. I think Bianca mentioned it in her slides, but our next webinar will be on January 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that title of that webinar is Cognitive Interviewing, Back to the Basics and Back to the Future. Just has a really good title. And again, if that's it, I hope everyone enjoyed and took something away from this webinar. Thank you for those who asked questions and gave comments. And I hope you all have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, sorry, there's one quick question in the
Okay.
in the Q&A. Can we request webinars of the past to be delivered again? I would say let us know, if there's a certain one that you found particularly useful at the time that you would like to see done again. Please feel free. I would say to let Layla know. Layla, do you mind saying your email, or should
Oh
it
yeah,
just go to info at AAPOR?
I meant to
How
put
about
it
we
in the
just say
chat.
info at AAPOR.org is the main AAPOR email. So I think Leon and maybe Jackie will see it there and they can send it to Layla. But yeah, definitely if there's interest in a redo of a past webinar, let us know. We'd love to know what was particularly helpful. That would be helpful again. And if you guys have, if there are other questions that come up, please feel free to reach out to Leon. You can reach out to me. you know, we're happy to answer questions or help you with your AAPOR experience.
Thanks. Oh. All right. Here first, and then...
Okay, well, should we wrap up?
Yeah, that's...
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Take care.